You know, that's a tricky subject right there, you know. You can stand on business about certain shit and you not really standing on business at the end of the day because, again, a lot of things you don't have, you know, a big hand on the steering wheel, you know,
So whose hand is on the steering wheel?
My conscience.
Your conscience has a hand on the steering wheel.
Uh-huh.
Okay. When you say your conscience, what does that mean, your conscience? Okay.
What if the biggest plot twist of Love Island wasn't a recoupling, but a quiet confession that the steering wheel was never really in the Islanders' hands? When Ace sat down with Speedy, he didn't just talk feelings, he hinted at a machine behind the moments. So ask yourself, who was really driving? Ace, the cast, or something bigger? He talked about his conscience making decisions, not his heart, not his gut, his conscience. Strange choice of words, or a safe code for production pressure. If your choices are influenced, are they still yours? And if everyone in the villa had a conscience, whose conscience mattered most when it was time to send someone home? Here's why this matters. Ace built his brand on standing on business, boundaries, principles, authenticity, but in this interview, he admits things weren't that simple. So, which Ace did we meet? The moral compass or the perfect contestant? And if the edit only shows 2 minutes from an hour-long deliberation, what are we not seeing? Before we dive into the receipts, here's a quick value for you. I'm going to break down exactly where the edit bends the truth, why Jeremiah's exit looks different in context, and how Ace's own words accidentally expose the system. If you're tired of surface-level reunion talk and want the actual mechanics behind the show, you're in the right place. If that's your lane, show this channel some love by subscribing now so you don't miss the next chapter. We ask the questions official reunions won't, and we bring the context the edits cut out. Ready? Because once you hear how Ace describes the elimination room and who was influencing whom, you might rethink every vote you watch this season. If influence shapes decisions, does accountability still rest with the Islander? Or the influence? Ace said it himself. His conscience had the hand on the steering wheel. Sounds innocent, right? But here's the twist. When Speedy pressed him further, Ace admitted it wasn't just him. Everybody in the villa had a conscience. Islanders, producers, everyone. Now pause for a second. What does that really mean? Is conscience just a safe word, a code? Because if it is, then Ace wasn't just confessing about his own decisions, he was hinting that the entire eliminations were influenced by production. And if that's the case, we've all been watching a show where the players weren't the ones driving the game. So let's test that theory on the most controversial decision of Ace's entire run, Jeremiah's elimination.
When I was watching it in real time, I was like, damn, this is some hating shit. Like, they trying to get Jeremiah out the paint because he got motion.
I felt like a hater, and I even said that. And was like, look, this feels like some hating ass shit, like respectfully. Like, yeah, it's television.
Fans remember it vividly. Austin had zero connections, nothing going on. Jeremiah, a threat. He had energy, charisma, and momentum. Yet Jeremiah was the one sent packing. In real time, people dragged Ace. They said it was personal, they said it was a strategy. Some even called it jealousy. But here's where the interview flips the script. Ace admitted that even he felt like it looked like hater behavior. Imagine that the guy making the choice admits it felt wrong. So the obvious question is, if it felt wrong to him, why did he do it? That's where the conscience talk comes back in. Because Ace claims what you saw on TV wasn't the full picture.
I had said this is not the full clip. You guys are starting this clip at, I think we should send Jeremiah home. We went through the pros and cons of every person, all of us. After doing all of those things, then they started the clip of, I think we should take Jeremiah home. So it sucks that the full picture didn't get painted right then and there because, again, the reunion is supposed to clear things up. When things aren't being cleared up, that makes me feel some type of way.
According to him, those deliberations lasted an hour. They discussed every single Islander up for elimination. They weighed the pros and cons. They had a debate. But what did we see? A 2-minute snippet edited to start with Ace saying, "I think Jeremiah should go." And just like that, a complicated group decision got turned into one man's bad judgment. Convenient for the storyline, sure, but fair? That's debatable. So now ask yourself, who was really responsible? Was Ace truly being shady, or was production setting him up to look shady? And if you've only been shown a slice of the pie, can you ever really trust the taste? But wait, here's where it gets even messier. Ace says Taylor whispered in his ear about Jeremiah repeating the same cycles with Andrina. Think about that for a second. Taylor didn't want to be the one to say it out loud, because that would look obvious. So Ace delivered the line. And who ended up taking all the heat? Ace. That's not just strategy, that's politics. So what do we call it when a friend plants the seed, production waters it, and you're left holding the blame? Is that a decision, or is it manipulation? And if Jeremiah was eliminated not because of his behavior, but because he was competition for someone else, what does that say about the integrity of the entire process? See, this is why Ace's words matter. On the surface, he's just talking about conscience, but underneath, he's describing a system where Islanders aren't just playing the game, they're also being played by the game. So here's my question to you. If every move is influenced, if every choice has invisible hands guiding it, can you ever call it real? Or is Love Island just a beautifully lit, producer-scripted drama where the cast are pawns in a storyline they don't fully control?
Understood where we were both coming from, and actually me and Jeremiah are super cool, and I hope to do a stream with him. We were just talking about it last night, like, yo, we're gonna do some shit, or we can go hoop, we can go do whatever. Like, we super cool now to where we can understand where we're coming from, but...
This is where the interview takes a sharp turn. Up until this point, Ace has been spilling tea about producers and eliminations. But then, he shifts the focus to Nick, the guy who was supposed to be his closest ally. His brother is in the villa, his day one. And yet, outside the villa, Ace says Nick failed him in the one way he couldn't forgive.
But when it comes to the serious shit regarding my character, that's the things I take serious.
And you feel like he didn't stand up for you and or silence narratives when he had the opportunity.
And I told him that, yo, I feel like the answer that you gave was just mad PR, and I didn't respect it. He was like, well, I'm pretty much over it. So I was like, okay, cool.
He said, I'm pretty much over it?
Yeah, I'm pretty much over the whole thing.
When Ace was catching heat online, drowning in negative narratives, he expected Nick to step up, to defend him, to silence the noise, to fight back. But Nick's response? A calm, almost dismissive, I'm over it. Now here's where it gets messy. To Ace, that sounded like betrayal, but to Nick, maybe it was just boundaries. Let's break it down. Ace admits he doesn't spend much time on social media. So, who's supposed to monitor every meme, every hate comment, every interview? Nick? Is it fair to expect your friend to be your full-time PR manager, correcting narratives, fighting strangers online, and defending your character every time your name comes up? Think about your own friendships. If you were getting dragged, would you want your best friend to jump in, or would you want them to let it go? Which is loyalty, and which is self-preservation? Because let's be real, Nick had his own reputation to protect after the show. Publicly tying himself to Ace's controversies could have dragged him down too. So maybe Nick's silence wasn't betrayal. Maybe it was survival. But here's the real heartbreak. Ace and Nick shared laughs, strategies, and even late-night talks in the villa. And yet one misaligned expectation shattered it all. Ace defines loyalty as public defense. Nick defines it as private support. Two definitions, zero understanding. So here's the question you need to ask yourself. Who's really wrong here? The guy who wanted protection at all costs, or the guy who refused to carry someone else's battles? And if a friendship can't survive outside the villa, was it ever real to begin with? Or was it just another Love Island storyline that ended the second the cameras turned off?
How many of the decisions are led by your conscience as opposed to by Ace?
A lot of decisions. I feel like about majority of every time an Islander is being sent home or being voted off.
Did other people have a conscience in the villa?
Oh, a whole lot of people had a conscience in the villa. I feel like everybody got consciences in the villa. And it gets tough because, you know, influences try and persuade you out of how you are feeling to, you know, try and cater to certain things and certain people and certain things like that. But
is what we see, that deliberation, is that how it happens?
Right then and there, no. That's not how it happens. But again, yeah.
Now let's talk about Huda. Because if Nick was the friendship fallout, Huda was the messy flame that never quite burned out. Ace admits he gave her attention early on, but by day 4 or 5, he says he shut it down. Case closed, no romance, nothing there. At least, that's his version. But if that's true, then why did the narrative drag on for weeks? Why did the heart rate challenge blow up into one of the spiciest moments of the season? And why did the extended reunion footage show him laughing, smiling, fully participating in a moment he now claims made him uncomfortable? Here's the problem. The receipts don't match the revision. Ace wants us to believe he was pressured by the format. But did he also enjoy it in the moment? Was he just playing along for TV? Or worse, Is he rewriting history now because he doesn't want to admit he fed the storyline? And then, just when you think the interview is done with contradictions, Ace drops his favorite card, the clout defense.
One thing I will challenge you on.
Yeah.
You said you felt uncomfortable during. You looked into it.
I looked into it. And don't get me wrong, I was smacking the basketballs and shit. I
looked into it to me.
And I completely get that.
He insists he didn't need Love Island to grow his platform. He rattles off receipts: Jennifer Hudson, Good Morning America, TV appearances, dance career. He paints himself as someone who was already known. But here's the irony. If you really didn't care about clout, why keep receipts? Why keep score of every show you've ever been on? Why remind us of your resume like a LinkedIn pitch during an interview that's supposed to be about authenticity? The truth? Everybody walks into that villa wanting exposure. Everybody knows Love Island amplifies your brand, and there's nothing wrong with that. But pretending you're different, pretending you're above it, just makes you look defensive. So let's be real. Ace probably wanted both. He wanted love and clout. He wanted respect and recognition. And maybe, just maybe, he thought he could convince the audience that clout was never part of the deal. But do you believe him? Or do you think the clout defense is just another shield for someone who doesn't want to admit they played the same game as everyone else? Because here's the kicker. The Islanders who last, the ones who keep the audience's respect, are the ones who own it. They admit they came for love, but stayed for the opportunities. Honesty builds trust. Defensiveness destroys it. So ask yourself, is Ace defending his truth or defending his image?
For you to say, I came in there for clout, respectively, you didn't know who I was. I've been on, TV shows before. I've been on Jennifer Hudson. I've been on Good Morning America. I've been on Everybody's Scream before, so I had all that shit. So for you to say, Ace is looking for clout.
Here's where we land. For all the contradictions, the defensive answers, and the messy loyalty tests, there's something in this interview you can't ignore. Ace admits the fallout didn't just hit him. His family got dragged into it. They received threats, harassment, hate, and that's where the noise stops. Because regardless of whether you love or hate him, that should never be the price of reality TV. No family deserves to carry that weight. So let's step back. What do we actually learn from all this? That Love Island isn't just about love. It's about edits, influence, and the way narratives get shaped. That standing on business sounds strong in a confessional, but in reality, everybody bends under pressure. And that sometimes the friendships built under bright lights crumble once the cameras turn off. But most of all, we're reminded of this. Behind every headline, every meme, every viral clip, there's a real person navigating the fallout. And whether you agree with Ace or not, that truth deserves empathy. If you found yourself questioning what's real versus what's scripted in this interview, hit that subscribe button. Because here, we don't just sip the tea, we break down the mechanics behind the cup. And the next time someone claims they're standing on business, you'll know to ask, whose business are they really standing on? Until next time, stay sharp, stay kind, and remember, the villa may end, but the stories never do.